Opinions are those of the hosts and guests and not necessarily those of the station or its management.
This is the Joe Mangiacotti Show. Our topics are large and small. When you really need to know, we are the show you want to know. It's time to talk to Joe.
All right, folks. Good afternoon, and welcome to the Friday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show. First of all, happy Memorial Day. That's it, right? The unofficial start of the summer, as they say, but it is really so much more important. Memorial Day is, of course, a federal holiday here in the States, and it's for mourning the U.S. military personnel who have died while serving in the United States Armed Forces. And we observe it on the last Monday of May. It used to be observed on May 30th. That happened between 1868 and 1970, and then it switched to the last Monday of May. And originally was something to, of course, commemorate and remember those lost in one of the most tragic wars of our history. Of course, is the Civil War between the North and the South, and now we need to take a moment and remember what it's about and what it's for. And I know this weekend, a lot of us will be concerned with our cookouts and maybe hitting the beach and that kind of thing. But there are a lot of programs to put wreaths and flowers out there. And at some point, please take a moment. And I don't know if everybody does this or is supposed to, but usually at 3:00 today is when we are supposed to collectively take a moment of silence and reflection for Memorial Day and those that we've lost. I mean, the 13 soldiers we lost in the withdrawal of Afghanistan is probably the freshest wound that most of us remember. Although there's nothing less about the fact that we lose service people in accidents, in car crashes, vehicle crashes, even training exercises in the normal course of them serving in whatever branch it is. All right, Memorial Day weekend. Just for some of the housekeeping, I will be in Sunday morning for a live show with the Sunday morning talk block. As far as I know, that's all intact. Myself, Mike Wade, Peter Blute on Sunday. Monday will be a replay show. For most of us being the actual holiday. So that's what's going on there. Remember that you can check out all of my past shows on the SoundCloud app, right? It's there. You can find them on the website, tjmshow.com. And plus, we're a podcast. After the show airs, it becomes a podcast on iHeartRadio, Spotify, TuneIn, etc. Right now, other than being on terrestrial radio station AM 830 WCRN, we are live streaming on the TuneIn app. So if you don't have the TuneIn app, it's so easy to download on your device and then just punch in our call letters. WCRN, do me a favor, hit the like button so that we know you're there, and then it's very easy to find it. You can tell Alexa to play WCRN. She'll do it, no questions asked. That's pretty cool. And I'm live streaming the show, meaning that there's just a camera here in the studio, but the audio is running through my social media platforms at Facebook and Twitter at Joe Mangi Show, Mangi. YouTube channel named after the show, the Joe Mangiacotti Show. My LinkedIn page, and even on Twitch TV at Joe M Show on Twitch TV. Whatever you prefer to watch. The point is, many ways to stream the sound and the audio from today's show. 508-871-7000. To join the conversation. That's 508-871-7000. And our text line, 617-297-8388, 617-297-8388, or email Text Joe on the Radio, exactly what you're doing, Text Joe on the Radio at gmail.com. It appears on the same screen in real time. All right, so it being Friday, I thought I'd actually say this is kind of open lines on today we'll do, meaning that if there's something that you want to broach instead of me doing a 15 or 18-minute monologue and setting up the discussion, I'm going to throw a few topics out there. This is your chance to bring up something that you've been wanting to say or something that you think should be talked about. So I'm inviting you to call at 508 871 7000. If you don't call and suggest something, I'll just talk about what I think and what I see going on, because there's plenty of stuff to do that. 508 871 7000, open lines Friday for, I guess, better way of saying this, right? Obviously, we will be monitoring, watching, and talking about the Texas school shooting for a very long time. This isn't something the country heals and gets over quickly. Now, the thing here that I need to say and point out, folks, is that if you've been following it, do you look at it like I do and say, look at the information we have now opposed to yesterday and the day before? In other words, it's changing, and things that we were told or we were led to believe within the first day or so, now it's confirmed that it's not. I don't understand why it's so difficult to gather this information, and I don't know if they're having a issue of who's really running the investigation. Initially, right, we're told the Texas Rangers are, and maybe that's not quite clear. Maybe it's the actual overall Department of Safety now running it. But information that came out, like the resource officer actually engaged this guy, and that's the other thing I forgot to tell you, of course. Being that it's solo here today and I don't have a producer, when you call in, it's going to be just a matter of basically a couple clicks, and then you're going to be on the air. That's how it works. Before I go to the phone, so let me just finish this thought on that, and that is, we were told that he engaged this police officer, and the officer was shot, and then he went into the school, and the officer couldn't pursue him. Now that turns out, and now it's been confirmed that that's not the case. That didn't happen. That he crashed his vehicle and he was on the exterior of the school for 12 minutes before he got into an unlocked door, which we're being told the teacher propped open for some reason, for air or something like that. The point being, I think we've got to let some of this dust settle and really find out what really happened, because we can't really address where all of the security measures, failed. And doors that should be locked at a school not locked, that's a huge fail. That's a huge fail. And they've got to address this, and teachers and staff, I understand that you may be a little stuffy or warm, but don't they have air conditions in Texas? And let's not forget there's literally billions of dollars that have been put out there to the school systems for ventilations and things like that. And a lot of that money is still left over. All right, 508-871-7000. Again, folks, solo, there's no producer, so when you call, you're not going to get answered. Who are you? Where are you calling? And that kind of thing. I'm just going to kind of have to answer you cold like I am right now. Good afternoon. Thanks for listening. Thanks for calling. Who do I have? You're on, the caller. Go ahead, caller. No?
Hello.
There you go. You're on the air. Who is this?
Hello.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Who is this? You're on the air.
Yes. Hi. Good afternoon, Joe. My name is Joe.
Hey, Joe. Thanks for listening. What's on your mind?
Well, naturally the school shooting, but I'd like to discuss the corruption in the census.
Okay. We can do that.
And I chose not to participate in the census the last time and this time. And I'm kind of really angry that I chose not to participate, and we get people in this Census Bureau double counting and, over exaggerating the numbers. And it kind of took my my right of not being counted away.
Yeah.
Because the last thing I want to do is send another Democrat to Congress.
Right. For people who might not know what Joe's talking about here, folks, is that now we've learned that the census that's conducted, as it is every 10 years per our Constitution, per our founding fathers. And the purpose of the census, of course, is to figure out what the distribution of population is and how we are represented in the House. The Senate doesn't matter, 2 senators from every state. Now, what we're finding out is that states like New York and California, highly Democrat, highly liberal, their numbers have been inflated in an effort to hold on to seats. There's been such an exodus, a lot more from California, but both
How
states.
about Rhode Island, Joe?
And
They counted over 55,000 people in Rhode Island alone.
now that will make a huge difference given the size of Rhode Island. But the other part of this, folks, is the red states, Florida and Texas, and then states that are considered red, they underdid the numbers. So now what's interesting is that at that level and scale, and this must be from years of stacking the bureaucracy with Democratic hacks, friends and family, for them to, even if they weren't told, and it was orchestrated, for them to say, I'm going to be real generous in the blue states, and I'm going to undercount in the red states. California's losing a seat, and that's just wrong, because doesn't it seem like every time we turn around, Joe, the integrity and the trust that we have in in the government in general, and then these agencies diminish, whether we're talking FBI, DOJ, now even the census has politics has come in and corrupted that.
It has, Joe, and not to mention the border and, everything else that they've corrupted, the court system. And I mean, it's just one corruption after the other. The thing that bothers me the most about the census is, it's stolen representation.
Absolutely.
Rhode Island got to keep 2 congressmen when they don't deserve it. We got to keep a congressman when we didn't deserve it. And Florida and Texas were screwed in a way because they were supposed to get more representation to justify their population, and they didn't. And it just makes me mad because, although they're telling us to trust the government, we keep turning stones over that tell us not to trust them, and they're not out for our best.
Yeah.
Our best.
Yeah. Joe, I'm against the clock, so I'm going to have to hold you there. Thank you very much for the call. Folks, we're going to take a quick break. Stick with us. Back on the other side.
Don't put mercury in the trash. Don't put mercury in the trash. Fluorescent lamps. Thermometers. Thermostats. These could all contain mercury, so let's dispose of them properly. Don't put mercury in the trash. Don't put mercury in the trash. Know your products with mercury, so you can dispose of them properly. Mercury is harmful to human health and the environment. To learn what products in your home may contain mercury and where to safely dispose of them, please contact your local Board of Health or Department of Public Works or visit keepmercuryfromrising.org. Know your products with mercury so you can dispose of them properly.
Visit keepmercuryfromrising.org because together we can keep our environment safe. Brought to you by Win Waste Innovations. Performance for the planet.
Dr. Satya Mitra has journeyed from a childhood of poverty and homelessness to a successful career as a financial advisor, motivational speaker, and community leader. Now inspired by his guru, he uses his experiences to positively affect the lives of underprivileged people. We strive to house our blindness, poverty, homelessness, female empowerment, and good citizenship initiatives within the Joy Guru Humanitarian Center. If you wish to contribute or know of deserving persons or initiatives that could use our assistance, please contact us at 508-641-8441.
John the Roofer has been a leader in the roofing and home improvement business in both Massachusetts and Rhode Island for over 65 years. John the Roofer has earned a great reputation by successfully completing home improvement and roofing projects on time and at the quoted price. For residential or commercial roofs or siding and windows, call John the Roofer today, 866-906-ROOF. That's 866-906-ROOF. John the Roofer. Call him today, 866-906-ROOF. Or go to johntheroofer.com.
This is the Joe Mangiacotti Show. We are the show you want to know. It's time to talk to Joe.
All right, folks, welcome back to the second segment of the Friday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show here on AM 830 WCRN. Reminding you, you can join the conversation simply dialing the 508-871-7000, 508-871-7000. And I open the show, of course, Happy Memorial Day, and let's take a moment to remember those that we lost. But also, you're welcome to bring up a topic or an issue that you'd like to discuss, or you'd like to hear other people's input, kind of open line Friday, if you will. Joe called about the census, and I'm glad you did, Joe, because I didn't even have that in my notes today to maybe talk about. But it is a huge issue. It's a huge problem, and we're seeing this, as Joe pointed out, right? They're stealing your representation away, or they're stacking the deck in another state. And when you start combining that, because let's not forget that the census is that there's a direct correlation to you voting, because the census determines the number of Congress people from your state. And if you should lose some representation and you don't, well, yay for you, but it's wrong. And if you have kept or rather lost it, and that's not fair, because you're supposed to have another voice in Congress. So the New York Times, and when the New York Times looks at something like this, it's they're so skewed and they're so biased, and it's not me, they've done it to themselves, folks, right? In the way that they've covered things, or more importantly, not covered things. And at every turn, it seems that they demonstrate their bias time and time again. But the census memo that was released, it says unprecedented meddling has happened here. They're going to blame everything on Trump, I think, because, of course, everything is Trump's issue, right? But a memorandum citing unprecedented meddling in the 2020 census, circulated among top Census Bureau officials, indicates how strongly they sought to resist efforts. Bottom line is, when we analyze the numbers, the states that are blue now inflated, and numbers were inflated. And if the numbers are inflated, and it seems like there's more people living there than there is, they either keep or could gain. I don't think anyone's gaining, but there is a shift in it. No blue state, but there is a shift in it. California is losing a seat. Texas is picking up a seat. And that's just wrong. And who's doing the ordering? At how many levels of management does that have to go through for that to actually become effective? When you think about it, it can't be done by one person or just a small group of managers within the Census Bureau. All right, what say you? 508-871-7000. So just to finish some thoughts on the situation in Texas and everything that surrounds that, right? Because, again, I'm saying maybe we need to start reserving our assessment of everything till we understand everything went on. The timeline is becoming clearer each day, and we're kind of learning more and more. Last time I was on this microphone, the news reports and what I read prior to coming on air was that the Border Patrol officer went in and he was alone when the shot actually grazed his head and went through his hat. And they even showed the hat in the bullet hole. But with clarification of that, there were what they call stacking when you're going into a situation like this. And you have officers from multiple agencies converging on to the school, because let's face it, if your Border Patrol, Sheriff's Department, Texas Ranger, local PD, whatever it is and you learn that there is a gunman in a elementary school, you're headed there. I would say 99.9999% of officers. I don't think the deputy down in Florida who refused to go into that situation is representative of most officers. Law enforcement people who put on that uniform, that badge, the gun, and they sworn an oath, they will run towards the gunfire. They will run towards the fights and in the commotion and even the fires. And they are people who are just programmed to help and save and rescue. That's what they do. But you have all of these Leos, that's the local enforcement officers, coming in to the situation. So we don't have this one tactical group that have trained and worked together. We're having a bunch of police officers from various agencies rushing to the scene and meeting up with different degrees of training. And not every person who enters into law enforcement is coming from, say, a military background. So they may not have been somebody who was in Afghanistan or Kabul or someplace, and they've been taught by the military how to clear a building or how to do the stack and maneuver. So maybe they got some police training. So I got to ask, and I think you got to ask the same question, is what exactly do police officers learn at the academy? And as this crime wave we've been experiencing now for years continues to plow ahead here without any sign of it letting up, and when we have things like the Supreme Court leak and the attitudes in the administration and even leadership in the House, in the Senate, we'll batten down the hatches because, if you don't vote our way, there's going to be trouble again. We always come back to that. Under the guise of freedom of speech, we see riots and looting. Of course, how does looting a store, a jewelry store, electronics store, help your cause? It doesn't whatsoever. So you have all these police who are gathering, and they're from different agencies with different backgrounds and different levels of training. So we don't really, and despite the news reports I might have seen and what I read before coming on the air today, I'm reserving until it's an official account of what took place. I saw an interview with one of the police officers' wife. Now, it would have been better to have the police officer on to have the first-hand conversation. But I guess you take what you can when you're trying to get the story out. And then we're being told something about the key, and it took, better part of an hour to get in the door, and they were being shot at. But one of the things that was out there is that they retreated. And there were a couple interviews this morning I watched where both the wife of one of the police officers and some of the officials were making it very clear that the officers that were outside the door where he was barricaded in and popping out to shoot took fire and even took bullets and stood their ground until backup came. But and I'm sure you're thinking this because I'm thinking this, is why are you taking so long? Because You know that if he's barricaded in apparently this 4th grade classroom and he's armed with multiple guns and you can hear gunfire, he is murdering children while you're standing ground. Do we have the right to order a police officer or law enforcement officer to a suicide mission? Well, that's up for debate. What say you? 508-871-7000. But some of the police have admitted that they botched the school response because they made a series of wrong decisions. When they waited to breach the classroom door where he was in there, for example. Because he barricaded himself in there with the children. And the on-scene commander made the call at the elementary school that from the active shooter situation, that's what they do. And they wait for more. Then they wait for more. What say you? Again, Open Line Fridays. It's okay if you want to take a left-hand turn because I'm not doing a monologue and saying this is what we're talking about. Now, we got to take a break shortly here, and I have you on the phone. We have a few calls lined up. Again, you're not going to get the kind of screening and so forth because I'm alone, so it's not a producer here to do this. So what's going to happen is you're going to hear clicks and whatever, and then you're going to hear me say, welcome, thanks for listening, you're on the air, and then you let me know who you are and what you want to talk about. Now, I don't want to jump to the phones here because I got to break off in about 38 seconds, so that would just be ridiculous to do that. So remind you that you can join the conversation at 508-871-7000. You can also listen on the TuneIn app, Alexa, and I'm live streaming it on my social media platforms at Joe Mangi Show, and that would be Facebook and Twitter. You can also go to the YouTube channel, The Joe Mangiacotti Show, watch it and listen there if you'd like as well. All right, folks, so we'll take a break. We'll come back on the other side for the second half of the Friday edition. Meanwhile, we'll also go to the phones where we have full lines, and we'll find out what it is that's on your mind. So stick with us, and we'll be back on the other side, folks.
Time now for the forecast from the Boston Independence Group Weather Center. Call Jerry Doherty today at 877-772-1776. Retirement is within reach.
I'm meteorologist Vicki Graff, and here's the latest Boston 25 weather on Radio 830 WCRN. It's a warm and humid start to the day. I also can't rule out some clouds and fog. Going through the afternoon, we'll see some breaks of sunshine with temperatures climbing into the upper 70s. Rain arrives overnight. Some thunder is possible as well. We are back into the upper 70s for Saturday with a risk for some showers and storms, staying dry for Sunday and Memorial Day. I'm Vicki Graff, and you can hear Boston 25 live for the morning drive weekdays on AM 830 WCRN.
Gordon Lightfoot, live, the legend in concert.
You could read my mind, love.
October 19th at the Hanover Theater.
Sunday.
A night of hit after hit after hit. Get tickets now at thehanovertheater.org or call 877-571-SHOW. Gordon Lightfoot, the legend in concert.
Chris Thompson here, station manager at WCRN. I need salespeople. If you're retired or a stay-at-home mom looking to make a few extra dollars, this opportunity is perfect for you. Work part-time, set your own schedule. It's fun. We provide the training you need to succeed. The only thing better than listening to Howie Carr is selling Howie Carr. If you're outgoing, not afraid to learn new things, and would like to earn some extra money, call me at 508-870-5803, extension 222. Stop making money selling radio.
WCRN is an equal opportunity employer.
Talk about real estate, mortgages, and the economy on the Drew Mortgage Show, weekdays at noon on Full Service Radio, AM 830 WCRN.
Tune in to It's the Liquor Talking on WCRN AM 830 from 11 to 1 p.m. on Saturday morning.
This is the Joe Mangiacotti Show. We are the show. You want to know. It's time to talk to Joe.
All right, folks. So welcome back to the second half of the Friday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show here on AM 830 WCRN. We're live streaming on the TuneIn app, 508-871-7000. To join the conversation, that's 508-871-7000. Again, when you call in, it won't be call screened with the producer. You'll just hear some clicks and we'll take the call. So before I go on, rambling on, let's jump to the phones. Mark is first. Mark, thanks for listening. Thanks for calling. What's on your mind?
All I know is what I hear on the mainstream media. Now, from what I'm hearing on the mainstream media at present, is that apparently the victims of this incident at one point were all in one classroom. Is that correct or incorrect? That's what I'm hearing on the media.
That's been my understanding all along, that he went to a fourth grade classroom, barricaded and pretty much trapped two teachers and the kids in there.
In one classroom.
That's what I understand. Doesn't mean it's true.
All right.
But that's what I understand.
Okay. Most classrooms I ever been in have windows in them, do they not?
Yeah, I agree. I know where you're going here. I mean, some kids did flee because they found refuge over at the funeral home.
Why did they fire in a couple of rounds of tear gas canisters? That would have rattled his cage. And then you get other guys outside of the classroom with a door popper. You pop the door open, and you go in and you get him. Once he's distracted with the tear gas. What blank did they do that?
I have no answer, Mark. I have no idea.
I mean, any first-year infantryman in the Army would figure that out. Toot sweet.
I see what you're saying, and
How's it going, brother?
Thank you, Mark. And I agree 100%. I don't. Again, it's a lot easier, folks, to be the Monday morning quarterback and all the what ifs and why didn't they in the world. But we have to find out what comes out. I mean, they're admitting, we have some of the top cops there saying, no, we messed this up. We didn't do this right. And yeah, good point. I don't know what the school layout is, what the windows were like. Could they not see in? You have to, remember that there's a classroom full of kids and they can't go in there too strong because you could have friendly fire. And imagine one of the law enforcement officers being responsible for the wounding or death of one of the students. That would be horrible. So we got to find out what went on, but it sounds as though it could have been handled a lot better. But I'm not about to start second guessing what went on until we know what went on. Let's get the official word on all of this. And hopefully the integrity of the official report is beyond question. Hopefully when it all comes out, it is what it is. A lot of people tend to CYA after something happens and they may have handled it poorly. Sometimes, they rewrite history a little bit or they remember a little differently. Let's see what happens. There's good questions, Mark, and I don't have the answers. I wish I knew exactly what went on there and better. I wish I had answers and solutions and a definitive answer how to ever stop this from happening again. A realistic solution to school shootings would be pretty awesome. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. 508-871-7000. Let's go to Ken in Bolton. Hey, Ken, good afternoon. What's on your mind? And before you say anything, I got to tell you, I've got a haul of shame for the idiot du jour here. is Francis Beto O'Rourke and him interrupting the press conference of the governor, the mayor, the Texas Rangers, the Department of Safety, and, folks, the grieving parents whose child had just been murdered. And this Jamoke shows up, making it all about him because he's such a loser. And I don't usually go like that, but I'm sorry. This guy marries wealthy, so he doesn't have to work. He runs for everything under the sun, loses everything he ever runs for. And are you surprised that the Jamoke that videos and streams his dentist appointment tried to make a weird video? And it was orchestrated, Ken, because he had seat savers who went in to hold the place in the seat so they didn't know he was going to be there to the last minute. Just having to say, for once, I'm going to offer a hall of shame. And this guy takes the cake, Ken.
Oh, Joe, you're making me find another one for Sunday, but I don't think that'll be too hard.
No, I don't think so either. I don't think so either. And he's king of the pile on this.
Oh, yeah. He's right up near the top. No doubt about it.
Really, it doesn't occur to him the purpose of the press conference, because this wasn't just, them saying the police or something saying this was a much different thing, because they had the parents there. This was an opportunity for the mayor and the governor and lieutenant governor was there to say, look, we're so sorry for your loss. This is where we're at. This is what is going to happen. And it was supposed to be a very solemn and respectful time. And this guy just absolutely slapped them in the face and was so rude in that action. I can't even believe it. And it was the mayor of the town there. He's the guy that was yelling at him and saying, sir, you're out of line. And then he called him, I think, a sick SOB.
Sick SOB,
yeah. So what's on your mind? What did you want to talk about today?
I wanted to pick up on the theme that Joe Famillis had.
Yep.
I take it he was looking at a news item just the last day or two, which I probably didn't see. But I'm familiar with what's been going on with the census and kind of fill in the gaps that you may not have discussed. From my understanding, things kind of went a little wacky during 2020 and 2021, so that the normal timing of the census information was delayed. Of course, they had a good excuse. That would be the pandemic, but they made full use of that full excuse. That is at least elite. The people in power who want to push the Democrats as far as they can push them. And so they held off on count, and it was quite a bit different than what it should have been.
Yeah.
By the time, the Biden administration's now in power, so we got this, and yeah, they got it. They shifted the numbers, and that's basically what Joe Famillis was referring to.
And wasn't, if I remember correctly, there was also issues about what would be on the census and what wouldn't be on the census.
Yeah,
there were some questions the Trump administration thought should be on there, and they wanted to take them off, and vice versa. And they used the census as an opportunity to gather more information than just the population. Right? They really get into everything from just who's there. Pardon?
They were trying to collect information for the woke movement, basically.
All right, and there's something else, and I want to inject this because I mentioned it briefly in a prior show, and I'm going to come back to this. And I don't know if you're aware of it, Ken, and maybe you already are. You're usually up on this stuff. But the 2020 census took a little longer than normal. Yes, they had the pandemic to deal with, and they had a shortage of people who could work and everything. But what they did in this census, whether you realize it or not, the census takers had to walk to the front door of every address they had to go talk to and see with a device, a GPS device, and they had to hit and record the exact GPS location of every front door. Now, it's not because obviously they had the address to get there. So they have the address, and GPS will tell you where it is. So why did the Census Bureau, i.e. the federal government, want the exact GPS pinpoint location of every front door on the census? That's a question I would like somebody to answer. Why is that necessary? I mean, other than needing to put, a Patriot missile through your front door, why do you need to know exactly, like, why that extra time, that extra effort? You know where the property is. You got the address. You can Google Maps or Apple Maps, whatever you want, and you got the address. And Google, you'll get an old picture, but they spent billions of dollars driving around the country taking a picture of every street and building and intersection in the country. Why did they do this GPS at everybody's front door?
One can only guess, but it's part of the whole corruption scene that I'm looking at. I have an additional idea that I'm sure Joe Millis would enjoy. It's because there's too much power in Washington, D.C. In fact, there's just 5 cities who think they control the whole nation. True. Washington, D.C., New York, L.A., San Francisco, and Seattle. You could throw in Chicago, but particularly those coastal. They think, you don't think like us, you're out the door, we'll censor you, and all the rest.
Or as they call us, right, flyover country. The rubes in flyover country who just don't get it. We're too stupid to understand.
This is it. It's the elites versus the common everyday Joe, whether it be Joe Mangiacotti or Joe Millis. So why don't we send the jobs to the flyover the country? So why don't we send a particular federal department to Kansas City, another one to Ames, another one to San Antonio?
Yeah, why do they have to all be located in the same 4-block radius in the Beltway? Good question.
Exactly, and especially now
with all the remote working.
People work from remote.
Yeah, and let's bring a little economic boost maybe to some other cities in the country that could use a big federal payroll going on. So people are buying houses and cars and going out to eat and shopping in local shops. That's a great idea. That's a great point, Ken.
And it's really a simple idea. And if the Republican Party would grab a hold of it when they get power, I don't think it'd be all that hard to accomplish, because literally you just set up a new office and you say, hey, you're working in Washington, D.C. now, you don't want to move to the new one.
That's okay.
Okay, you just work remote, but we're going to build up a new workforce all over the country, spread it out.
Hey, Ken, you're welcome to hold if you want, but I don't control the break time. So we got to take a break here, folks. We'll be back on the other side. Stick with us here. AM 830, WCRN, 508-871-7000.
There's no better way to celebrate beautiful weather than cruising the great outdoors. Hi, I'm Paul Kowalas, president of Linders. We offer the area's largest selection of late model, certified pre-owned vehicles, most still under factory warranty.
Like a 2019 Chevrolet Traverse Premier with only 26,000 miles for only $45,995.
Celebrate the arrival of spring with a quality pre-owned vehicle from Linders on Granite Street in Worcester. Linders.com.
Linders, the intelligent alternative.
Hey everybody, Ryan Maloney here from It's the Liquor Talking, letting you know that you can hear us Saturday mornings at 11, but also at our new time, weeknights, right after Howie Carr at 7 p.m. It doesn't stop there. Randall and I are going to stick around and host North Star Music after the show. So join us for New England's only show about wine and spirits, and then pour yourself a glass of your favorite adult beverage. Enjoy Randall and I as we listen to your favorite music on the North Star.
93% of adults listen to the radio each week. Of those exposed to radio ads, over half made a purchase. Despite how often the media reports on newer forms of advertising, it is, in fact, free broadcast radio that most effectively reaches and truly influences customers. Radio allows you to place your company's message directly to the radio audience for 30 or 60 seconds, and it's a gold mine. Radio advertisements are more memorable compared to written and visual ads. It's just this simple. Sound is stored more effectively inside memories. Reach over 90% of this market's potential customers with your radio message on WCRN full-service radio. Call station manager Chris Thompson at 508-870-5803, extension 222, or visit WCRNradio.com.
This is the Joe Mangiacotti Show. We are the show you want to know. It's time to talk to Joe.
All right, folks. Welcome back for the fourth and final segment of the Friday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show. Don't forget, we're live streaming on Facebook and Twitter, YouTube channel. My social media hashtag is Joe Mangi Show, MANGI. You can reach the station right now at 508-871-7000. Again, it'll be a cold answer. It won't be a screened answer, folks. And a lot of you actually communicate. You can always email joemshow@gmail.com, by the way. But I get probably 80 to 90% of our communication or input to the show tends to come in through Messenger on the Facebook app, which is perfectly fine. However you want to do it is fine. We'll go to the phones in a second, but I want to point out, in case you missed it, because there's a lot going on a lot of different fronts. And World Economic Forum, Davos, right, in Switzerland. This is the globalization effort. And it is something, and I'll have Sunday morning some audio from this, because this is where the world's most elite and wealthiest and arrogant meet under the guise of World Economic Forum, but it's really where the whole push and idea for the globalization, the reset in the one world order, and we've got them actually, standing there in this room full of the Bill Gates and even the Clintons and John Kerrys of the world, and saying, we will decide for the world. We'll decide everything. And they mean everything. To food and healthcare, eventually travel. They have technology right now to track everything. I'm not just talking GPS tracking you. They're talking about tracking what you eat, how much your footprint is, your carbon footprint, how often you drive, where you drive to, what vehicle you're using, what's your carbon footprint. And just as a side thing, you may not know this, so let me share it with you. This whole infrastructure bill that Uncle Joe here, pushed through, buried in that is a kill switch addendum in there. And what that says is any car made after a certain date not only has the GPS in it and the tracking, but they will be able to be remotely shut off. So after a certain year, every car made will have this option in it. And why is that necessary, right? We've had LoJack and stuff like that in GM cars and everything. And we've seen where they've come in helpfully, right? Or helpful, rather, when your car might be stolen. LoJack can go in and coordinate with the police. They move in on the car because they know exactly where it is. The police give the order, okay, shut it down. All of a sudden, the car goes dead and it rolls to a dead stop. Police are waiting for it and surround it. But why does the government need to have a kill switch on your vehicle just to have it? Does this mean as they monitor your food, and they're going to create a point system? Because if you eat a lot of red meat, you're contributing, right? Because the flatulence of cows and so forth. They want everybody off of meat. And what if they decide that you get X number of points or allowance for your carbon footprint, and you've driven too often, too many miles, so they just shut your car off until enough time passes for your new allotment of carbon footprint. So you got the Davos meeting going on with the World Economic Forum of these arrogant, self-centered, condescending jamokes who have decided that they will run the world, and they are. And then you got things like that happening, technology, and you got Bill Gates behind a lot of this technology, and he's been buying up farmland all over the country. So has the Chinese, by the way. So I'm just saying, this is the things going on. You tell me what it means to you. You tell me what they're going to do with all this power and all this information. 508-871-7000. Let's go to the phones again. A cold answer. Who do I have here, and what's on your mind?
Hey, it's Rob. How are you?
Good, Rob. What are you thinking today?
I'm thinking, all the cops involved in this can go get fucked.
Whoa. Yep. Okay. Yeah. Why'd we do that? Let's see if we got the button there. Yeah. That's hopefully I got that, folks. But dude, you don't do that. You know better than to use a word like that on live radio. What's wrong with you? Seriously. You just ruined any opportunity to make your point, and you could have made a good point, and that's just not cool. Don't do that again. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Be polite. Be a normal grown-up, and welcome to take your call anytime. So this Davos has been going on forever, right? And you've got, and this is the part that you have to think to yourself, what is wrong with you people? And it's John Kerry that really gets my goat with this, because he's literally flying around the world on a private jet, not to mention his multiple yachts, lecturing us about carbon footprints and how we have to change and suffer and lessen our quality of life because of green gases and all of that. So now you've got George Soros is there, by the way. Let's not forget Georgie. He's there. And this guy Schwab, who's running it, is lecturing this group that we are the chosen ones. We are the leaders of the world here. And they've all flown there on their private planes. Meanwhile, I saw Rand Paul in an interview. And he says, here I am taking A1 or 1A or whatever they call the, upper class or nice class or the nice seats in the plane. But he's going with 200 or 300 other 100 people in a jumbo jet, and why couldn't they take a commercial flight and at least lessen it? So here you've got these elitists showing up at Davos to decide how you're going to live, right down to the health care you'd be entitled to, the amount of miles you're going to be allowed to drive, what your house will be like, what it can be heated with, how many windows it will have, literally. Right, this is now on building codes and new houses. How many windows are allowed to have, and facing south and that kind of thing. And now we have the president telling us and letting the cat out of the bag that all the pain that you're feeling at the pump right now, first, is not over, and is necessary to lead you sheeple to green energy. Which again, stop calling electric cars green unless they happen to be painted green. Where do you think the electricity comes from? When you go to the charging station, when you have that purchase of the car, $50,000, $60,000, I mean, they go into the hundreds, right? I have an associate and friend of mine spent $129,000 on their Tesla, the big one. So when you have this green car and you pay the price of it, and you pay the sales tax, and you pay the excise tax, then you've got to pay an electrician to come to your house and install the appropriate charging station or equipment. And then you got to pay the electric bill. But where do you think the electricity is coming from? I swear some of these idiots think it's just magically appearing in the outlet. So stop referring to electric cars as green cars. And their byproduct and waste is very toxic, meaning the batteries, folks. 508-871-7000. Let's go to the phones one more time. First of all, who is this? And what would you like to talk about? And I don't believe I have to say this. Behave.
This is John Franklin.
Okay, John. How are you, sir?
How are you today?
Good.
Good. On the subject, I have something else to talk to you about off air, if you can call me. But as far as electric cars, a lot of young children in Africa die just getting the cobalt to make the batteries.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. Who do you think is down in the mines?
That's a human rights violation right there.
Huge.
And people driving electric cars think that they're
better than you and me.
Something special because they're helping the earth and keeping the earth clean. But you're right about the carbon, all the carbon, the footprint. They're probably going to have to store those batteries in Utah or something like they do uranium.
Yeah, because they are toxic. They'll leak, right? And I'm glad you brought that up because I would have gotten there eventually if we had enough time. But the cobalt and materials for these batteries are being mined mostly in Africa, like you said, and it is either slave labor or next to slave labor, and you have child labor doing this.
Kids as young as 4 years old.
Yeah, and you've got China, right? They're buying up the mines and the rights to this stuff. And by the way, Hunter Biden's part of that deal. So again, we have another link of Joe Biden to China and Joe Biden to electric cars. And here he is telling you, the pain you're feeling right now, it's not even close to over, and you got to go through it because we're going to teach you a lesson and we're going to make you buy electric cars so that Hunter, i.e. the Biden crime family, is going to get a fortune because the cobalt mine that Hunter's a part of with the Chinese. Hello?
Yep. And between that, the WHO and everything else you're talking about, it's going to be, matter of fact, if you could call me off air, I'd like to discuss you being on another radio show about the WHO. I have a phone number for you to get on that.
Right. Okay. We're coming up the end of the show. I have your number, John, right? This is John I spoke to the other day.
Yes.
Yeah. All set, but I'm going to have to let you go because, hey, I can't control time. Wouldn't that be sweet if I could?
For all of us, yes.
Yeah,
Have a good
exactly.
day.
Thank you, John. All right, folks, that is actually going to wrap up the Friday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show here at AM 830 WCRN. Remember, all the shows are on SoundCloud as a podcast, plus you can download them on Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Apple. I know there's a whole bunch of platforms. Wherever you get your podcast from, you'll find us there. Have a great weekend.
This is Full Service Radio, AM 830.